Well, the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, is taking time out from daily politics to visit the cricket match between the Prime Minister's 11 and Sri Lanka, which has been cancelled. She is about to speak. Let's go to that right now.
11, even if there hasn't been any cricket today. So the weather has not given us what we would have liked for the day, but I'm sure we're going to enjoy this time together. And before I acknowledge anybody else in the room, though it is a room full of people who deserve to be acknowledged, it's a great honour to be joined at lunch today by one of the greatest of the 1948 Invincibles, Neil Harvey. Sir Donald Bradman, after whom this stand is named, said of Neil, and I quote, "He has the brilliance and daring of youth and the likelihood of rapid improvement." Granted, this was 65 years ago. Welcome, Neil. Welcome too to members of the Diplomatic Corps, in particular His Excellency the High Commissioner from Sri Lanka. We're also joined, I've seen, by our American Ambassador and also by our Ambassador from Japan, so a number of members of the Diplomatic Corps here today. To my colleague, Senator Mark Arbib, who is here in his capacity as Minister for Sport, the member for Canberra, Gai Brockman, is here. And yes, we've got members of the ACT government here, including Acting Chief Minister Andrew Barr. I was chiding him yesterday that he always manages to be Acting Chief Minister during the cricket. He's done very well again. And Minister Joy Birch is with us too. We've got leading lights from the Australian Public Service with us, including the Secretary of my own department, Dr Ian Watt. When we publish those productivity statistics for the year from the Public Service, I think today will probably be a very dark mark because everybody's out enjoying the day instead of working hard. Professor John Matthews is also here from the Menzies Foundation, Michael from Cricket Australia, and of course Ian, who has introduced me. Well, it's always great to be at Manuka Oval, even if it's a day when we're looking at a rain-swept oval rather than one that a game is being played on. It's a lovely place and I've come to enjoy it a great deal as a football ground, but it actually makes an even better cricket ground. And of course the Prime Minister's 11 is an institution in cricket in Canberra, and we've seen the fact that crowds were prepared to come out today not even knowing if it would be played. It's a great tradition over summer. It's no surprise that the grandstands here at Manuka are named after the two Prime Ministers most responsible for this tradition, as Ian has explained, Menzies and then Bob Hawke. Of course, my predecessor, Bob Hawke, has done a lot for Australian cricket in his time, though I'd have to say over this summer I think he's probably put the cause of responsible alcohol drinking back 40 years. You've got to love the way in which we Australians engage with our politicians and engage with our news. Hawkey got more press coverage for downing that beer in what looked to me to be pretty record time than I got in announcing $95 million in cricket infrastructure at Adelaide, Sydney and Hobart. Next time I make an announcement, expect me to do it with a beer in my hand and to be trying to equal Bob's best. But that's cricket, isn't it? A game that brings us all together, that reaches out to people around the nation, wherever they are in the nation, whatever their social status. There's no political barriers to engaging in cricket. Everybody loves it. And you don't have to be an expert to enjoy the game. I'm absolutely living proof of that. So, whilst today we haven't had the opportunity to see any cricket, we have, of course, over the summer enjoyed a lot of cricket. Whether it's been in pubs and backyards or whether it's been at our great grounds around the nation, people have enjoyed their cricket over the weeks that have been. I'd have to say there's even been a bit of cricket at the lodge. Tim's been out there playing a bit of cricket. Reuben the dog is learning to field, though he gets the getting of the ball. It's the bringing the ball back that we're struggling with. But Reuben the dog's out there doing a bit of fielding, though I'd have to say Tim possibly did push it a little bit too far last night with Brad when my team came round for a function. I think Brad was just being polite when he finally agreed with Tim that the little thing mown in the front of the lodge equals the Adelaide Oval. That's nowhere near true, but Tim somehow managed to persuade Brad of it during the course of the evening. So it has been good to be able to spend some time with the players, even if we couldn't watch them play. Brad, of course, a great local boy, a great local player, and I thank him for having stepped up to the role of captain, even if he didn't get to lead the team out onto the field. Cricket in Canberra has perhaps never been healthier. The Cricket ACT board and staff have done a magnificent job in making sure that this great game continues to prosper here. And they do that at the grassroots level, all the way up to the Bradman oration, and particularly the oration at the Australian War Memorial, I think, was something many will long remember. It was a unique event for Australian cricket and rightly was reported around the world. So, a big thank you to everybody who's made today possible, to the two teams who waited so anxiously to see if that they'd get out there and have a go. It wasn't to be. And as I said last night, two great teams from two great nations. The friendship between Australia and Sri Lanka is a strong one. I joked last night that amongst all of our other common bonds, we love beating the Indian team. I think that's shared between us, but the bonds between our countries are much, much more than that, and having the two teams ready to play today was part of those bonds between us. So let's look forward to a beautiful sunny day next time we gather here for the Prime Minister's 11, but in the meantime, I hope you enjoy lunch. Thank you very much.
And that's the Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, speaking strictly about cricket in her speech to the Prime Minister's 11 and Sri Lankan teams. Of course, the game was cancelled due to weather. Speaking of weather, tomorrow's forecast